2021, and we are now stepping into April of 2021. So if everybody can remember rabbit, I think we're all going to need some rabbit coming here into April. If you're on Instagram, I am live on YouTube right now if you want a better view of what's going on. For those on YouTube, enjoy the show. We are joined tonight by Dr. Schnabel, which actually is Dr. Beak up here. This was the plague doctors that were around in the 1600s and the 1650s. This picture actually was a drawing that was done in copper in 1656. And the history actually shows, that during the plague, they thought that they would wear these huge overcoats and that they would wear these big beaks and that they would wear these leather shoes and that they would be protected from the plague, because the first things that they would try and get rid of or protect the most were where the lymph nodes were, because during the Black Plague, it was the lymph nodes that they would go, oh gosh, look at those things, and they would do that. But the irony in all that and wearing the beak mask was that they actually transferred the plague around more because it was fleas when they didn't know it was fleas. So funny. So the fleas would then get on the plague doctor's outfits and they would carry it from place to place. And the funniest part that I actually read about this was, if you notice the little, and maybe it's too far, but if you ever look up this picture, just look it up. It's Dr. Schnabel. You can look it up on anywhere that you go on the internet and look up the history on it. And of course, this is where the idea of the mask came from. Yet it didn't work. There was a lot of plague doctors who died. But it would scare the whole town, because they would come into town and it let people know, somebody has a plague here. So it reminds me of when I saw the video a year ago in Wuhan, when you see everybody in their white, huge, or yellow, hazardous medical suits, and it puts fear into people, right? Even if you think of the movie Outbreak, right? The whole thing is the big outfits and everybody's just tripping out. And it was on Joe Rogan, actually. I talked about this, I think, last week on Full Disclosure on High Vibe, but I forgot who was on. It was the stoner. It was the white guy stoner in what's that stoner movie? Half Baked. What's that, man? And he was talking about how.
Is it? I don't know who that is.
Huh?
Not James Franco.
No. And he was saying that one of his buddies got COVID, ended up in a hospital, and they said he was going to die, and they finally were just like, well, let us have the family say goodbye. And they're like, no. And finally the family just showed up, and finally the nurses said, fine. They held his hand, and the next thing you know, he came back to life by feeling the heartbeat through the hands of his loved ones, of his children. And he's recovering. How many people have died because of fear? How many people have died because you can't see your loved ones? Nobody's talking about that one. And the reason why I bring that up is because time is going by really fast right now. We have all the planets direct still. We just saw Mars and Rahu. I was talking about this, this is a time to seize on opportunities. I actually had an interesting comment from somebody in my Instagram today that was like, all you've been talking about for 3 weeks, why do I even want to pay for your service and get horoscopes if you just keep telling people the same thing? And I'm like, well, do you watch the dailies? Because they go into much more specific aspects of what this is about. But, when the astrology is pumping, it feels like you're flying and there's no stop. And you have to remember that good things right now are flying in directions, and also bad things are flying at directions at high speed. Now, I'm looking at the good things in life. There's a lot of good things, especially we got the Sun and Venus that have made their conjunction. We've got the Sun making awesome aspects to Saturn. We've got, Venus and Jupiter getting ready to get their sextile. We're getting a lot of things that are with all this Aquarius, Jupiter, Saturn, and all this Aries. that are really positive right now. But you have to remember, with all this energy moving forward, the momentum for the rest of the year, once we come into April, it starts to slow down, especially once we get to the end of April. But you're in a peak right now, and so everything at once feels like it's happening. And that's why I said this full moon that we had on Sunday in Libra was a peak out, because we're at a peak of energy. Like, all the planets are direct. Mars and Rahu met. The sun's in Aries. Sun met with Venus in Aries, opposed with Chiron, opposed a full moon in Libra. I mean, this is the peak of astrology. You don't see peaks like this. Like, you can't add any much more energy unless there was a sun in Leo. But the only one that could do it besides the sun in Leo is the sun in Aries, an exalted sun in Aries, to handle Saturn. Because if you look at the essential dignities, all you see continuingly is a +8 sun and a +8 Saturn. And when you have a sun exalted at 8 points on the score, and Saturn's in its own sign of Aquarius at +8, this is where we have to really use the energy right now of that we have full speed ahead. Saturn's not squaring anything except Uranus. So when you get stuck in hesitation about not wanting to move forward into a better life and want to stay in the shitty life, well, guess what? Yeah, that's where your hesitation, and that's where you're going to be blocked. There are no blocks right now. The only blocks are within you being afraid to better your life. You afraid to also identify through Venus elements of things, right? Relationships, money, self-worth. This is a time right now to it feels like a lot. Mercury also is leaving Pisces, so it's kind of like everybody's going to catch up real quick with feeling how fast things are going right now. And changing. Fast. So if you're in one of those places where you're like, I don't like fast change, well, you'll maybe like the rest of the year better when it will be very slow change. It will not be fast. And I just am, advocating again for, especially with Mercury coming into Aries this week, it's going to feel faster. Especially as Mercury's picking up speed. Mercury, by the time we end this horoscope that I'm doing until April 6th, Mercury is almost at 2 degrees a day. And Mars is pretty much at its full speed, 36 minutes a day. Jupiter's even kind of slowing down a little bit. Saturn's doing pretty well, but it's slowing down because it's coming 1 more degree and it stops at 12. And Uranus is almost out of its shadow. Neptune is in a place we've never seen before. Pluto's in a place we've never seen before. And Chiron's getting ready to come out of shadow. So there's a lot of good things moving on right now. But my main thing for people is, and why I brought Dr. Schnabel in, is, yes, you know me, we can talk about all the good stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff. Relationship-wise, you starting to see your future, and you have an act to make it, right? With the Sun sextile Saturn, with Venus is just sextile Saturn, and with the Sun and Venus on their way to make good aspects to Jupiter. And with Mars, though, it's already made the trine over to Saturn, but getting ready for a square to Jupiter and a trine to Jupiter, but a square to Neptune. This Mercury in Aries is like, we need to start being clear on things. Saturn is saying we need to make decisions about our future. And there's so many good things. We can make great changes in our life, and we've got to not be afraid to take on life itself, to make change, to step into things and to just do it. But where do we have to realize what things are really part of our life or not? We have to take an Aquarian approach. Is this really where my future really wants to go? It might feel great now, but does it feel good long term? And you can use fast energy and know that. It's pretty easy. If I ran into a grocery store, I'm not going to just be, if I'm in a hurry and only have 5 minutes, I'm not going to just be like, well, I don't like that brand or I don't like that, but I'll take it because it's fast. No, it's like, you know what? I won't be happy in the long term. Let me move to the next aisle. But you also don't want to move aisle to aisle to aisle and then get nothing in the store. What was that show? It used to be a show where you used to race around with a shopping cart.
Supermarket sweep.
Supermarket sweep.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching that show as a kid. I thought that show, I was like, I think I would do really well in that show. I'd always like be yelling at the lady or the guy who was going around the aisle going, no, it's right there. It's right there. Like, it feels like right now we're in that game, supermarket sweep, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, and there's a lot of things right now that, we want change. But there's a lot of things, and this is what I want to bring up, is because Neptune is so powerful right now in Pisces, and Mercury just met with it, and now we're getting ready for Mars to square it. Won't happen this week exactly. Next week it will. We want to really utilize this Sun-Saturn sextile as like there has been things dropped into your life right now that have made you realize things need to change, because Aquarius is a changing element, but from the most fixed energy. It's the core foundation of your future to make changes that will repivot your whole life for the better. So these are good things. I'm not here to just say the bad, because there's a lot more good than bad. But the Neptune element of things, with Mars getting ready to square it, and ironically enough, in America, Mars is 21 degrees of Gemini in America's chart. So Mars is getting ready for its Mars return with a Neptune square. Oh, that's never happened since the 1800s. It would have been 1857. I'm doing that in my head. Somebody can check that for me. If Mars was in actually Gemini in 1857, it would be 1858 then, when Lincoln tried to run as senator and lost to the person he would beat to be president in 1860. So that's I'm not looking at it, but I'm just using my head here. But it's gonna be weird Mars return for America, and so people wonder why things are going on in the world with America, and with Neptune squaring the Mars of America, America doesn't really know where it's going. So you have to not be afraid if you're afraid of the passport, but at the same time you have to be aware of it, and you have to like not get too like everything will be fine. I posted a video of a woman who put out a lot of stuff. She's a tech CEO about like this is a lot like the social credit system in China, and how if you don't do it, then basically it'll start to let your bank know, it'll let this know, it could raise your interest rate, it'll cut off your PayPal, it'll do stuff like that. Like, if you really think about it, like, that's how this whole thing is set up. Know who you were around, know if you're around a lower class citizen because they don't have the shot in the arm. These are the things that the Neptune, so that's what I'm saying, like, when things are going so fast, this is when also the light does really good things and sets itself up into great positive energies. But at the same time, you have to look at the dark is rushing their plans as fast as possible too. So if this is supermarket sweep, what are the things in life that are going to last for the rest of this year that are going to be awesome for you during this time? Because this is the harvest time of building the new you and building this new positive future for you. And this is a great time with Easter that is here, because it's, to me, it's kind of a weird Easter, because really to me, I guess Easter is, right, I don't know, isn't Easter supposed to come after the first new moon in after the spring?
First full moon.
It's the first full moon.
Mm-hmm. First Sunday.
So it's coming with the moon squaring in its 3/4 waning square to the sun in Capricorn. And so it's highlighting, especially at the degrees at which it's going to be. If I remember right, the moon's squaring the sun at 15 degrees, right at the middle of the sign. With Venus squaring it. And with Mars and Venus making a sextile this week on this Sunday. It reminds me of, especially with Pluto lingering down there, and Mercury will now have entered into Aries on the day before because it's doing 2 degrees a day basically. So Saturday. So I would say that, we have to take the seriousness of like what are we if we're gonna define ourselves, if we're gonna step into things, like is this part of your quest? Is this part of you? A lot of people jumped on the boats for their destinies, and we've all gotten frazzled by people or just feeling like we've gotten off course in our lives. That's what this Easter is doing, is helping us restore our course in our collective, our course mainly though in ourselves, of our alignment and who we are and what we got to do. But we have to have a powwow with ourselves and God this week of drawing out the plan and understanding what to prepare for with the plan. When they did the Constitution, there was a Bill of Rights in there. And that Bill of Rights was important because the Bill of Rights is what is the most sacred part of the Constitution to me. Because it is what gives the people the ability to stay free by unwavering rights that are not allowed to be screwed around with. And so this reminder from the moon and Pluto and Capricorn to Aries is like, it's one thing to feel like things are going fast and positive and exciting, but this is why Venus is detriment in Aries, okay? Because it's one thing to just get into something and it feels good, right? So you see the world opening back up, or at least in America, right? If you go to Europe, no. But you see this energy starting to turn back on. You're like, oh yeah, this is great. This is exciting. But Capricorn's going to remind you, and of course the 3D version would be, oh yeah, there's variants and blah blah blah, and stay home. And if already the shot in the arm makes no sense to me when you have a better. Why do you even need a shot in the arm if your chance of dying is like 0.3%? I mean, I have a higher chance of dying in a car accident. I have a higher chance of dying from my jewel. I have a higher chance. I think people have a higher chance of just walking around life and passing away. But the Capricorn stuff on the spiritual level is the powwow of you reminding yourself of this Constitution in yourself of like, yo, these are my rights, and these are the Bill of Rights that I'm writing, and this is the Constitution I'm writing for myself, for my long-term future, that I really define myself as, and that I'm excited about things, but unless I'm not going to give away my Bill of Rights of my soul and my destiny, I'm okay. But if I give away my soul and my destiny just to feel good in the moment and just to feel good now, uh-oh. That's not a good thing, right? It's like, oh, sacrificing for the greater good for a day, a week, a month, a plane ride, a whatever. I'm trying to kind of mix both. I'm trying to mix your own spiritual well-being and also at the same time the well-being of how people are kind of looking at it in the world. They just did a survey with, I think it was 100 biologists, and it was about 75% of them that said that the shot in the arm isn't going to be worthwhile even in 9 months, that it won't even be worthy of it, that they're going to have to come out with another one and another one and another one. Finally, we're getting some studies from like letting other people than just one core of people telling us what to do. And so I think that the reminder for people here is you got to look at everything right now as a shot in the arm. Do you really want that forever? Because that's what this shot in the arm is. It's forever. It doesn't. You just can't like be like, you know what? Oh shit! Can you get it out of me, please? No, there is no getting it out of you. Well, I know somebody said it's like the flu shot, but the flu shot and this are completely different things. The delivery system, the way that it works, that it restructures and the messaging part of it tells your white blood cells, you are only going to look for this, and you other ones can stay looking for anything. But we're going to take a bunch of your white blood cells and say, only look for this one protein, the original protein, supposedly that was the one at the beginning. That's how this thing was built. So it's like, now, what are you going to do? Like, what are your white blood cells? Like, imagine you have a group, you have a huge team. And it's like, we're taking the shortstop, we're taking the second baseman, we're taking the center fielder, and let's take the catcher, and let's take your right fielder too. And let's all make them look for this Rona. Leave the other people on the field and have them play the game, and they can take on anything else. Well, you're already segregating a bunch of the team, which is so funny right now that, you know, we're dealing in a world where we don't want to talk about, or we don't want segregation, right? Like, we don't want, you know, to enslave anybody, but we are now having a shot going around enslaving our bodies to only look for one thing, and they will never be allowed to look for anything else. They cannot be reprogrammed again. Because what's going to happen is the next shot's going to go, oh, now we need to take your first baseman, and we need to take your third base. Did I say third base? I don't remember. Or your left fielder. We'll leave the pitcher on the field alone. He's a really strong guy anyway, right? Okay. All right. And for the new variant of whatever. And then what happens after that? The next one, you only have a pitcher left? Well, I got to take him. I guess the only thing that matters in the world is Rona. But bacteria, anything else is just going to come on the field and just waste it out. So in your life right now, you have to look at it and be like, am I ready for this change to be forever? Am I ready is this on my destined path? Because this is great energy. I am loving it. But I think Mars and Neptune in square, and with Mercury and Aries, it helps be very clear on things. Like, hey, no. Or yep. And it's hard because with supermarket sweep, it feels like it's very like, once it's in the cart, if I remember right, in the cart, you could throw things out too. Didn't they throw things out too? Mm-hmm. You'd be like, oh wait, hold on, I gotta throw that out. Because you have to get to the right exact number. It was like,
I think so, yeah.
You had to get to the right, like if it was $200, you had to get
right
as close as you could to $200 or something like that. So, you know, we're trying to get to this, let's say, we're using this as an example. We're trying to get to this one number, and you're doing supermarket sweep, and you're like, oh God, I'm putting this in. Oh shit, no, you know what? No, there's a lot of that going on, and we are in hyperspeed. We're in hyperspeed right now. And it all feels like it's hitting us at once, and you can't sit there and just be scared, be hesitant. I think the Capricorn moon is going to give us a little bit of that. It's not hesitancy. It's processing a deeper understanding of, is this part of my destiny? Am I willing to commit full time to this? Which is a good thing. I think that this moon in Capricorn is a good thing. Because even though it's a detriment moon squaring a exalted sun, I think this detriment moon is kind of being like, all right, young little Aries energy, like that's all like ramped up, like let's go. And with Mars and North Node still in the same sign, and Mars getting ready to square Neptune, it's like a big reminder because the moon will quincunx over to the moon or to Mars. And we also, by the way, this week having the sun with the nodes and a sextile and a trine. So we're in a very fated time for us to make big choices in our life, and with the sextile to Saturn, and with Saturn that is ready to trine over to the North Node. And so, you know, we've been seeing nothing good with Saturn in the North Node for a while, right? It was Saturn quincunx the North Node, and then it was Saturn opposed the North Node when Saturn was with the South Node. So to see a trine now, this is us, I'm telling you, this is like a gateway out of a lot of karma, a lot of the past that we don't want to live in our personal lives, and setting the precedent. If we are willing to make changes in our personal life in our environment, if we're willing to go to the things that make us curious, if we're willing to speak up, like the whole idea of like, you know, people hit me up all the time like, oh, let's do this, but you know what? I can't do it now. Let's just do it down the road. It's not that I don't take it seriously. It's just like, I just go, okay, we'll see if the universe will actually do that, because this is the time to seize on things now. Like if you're in a place where you don't want to live, leave. If you're in a relationship that you love and you want to go all the way and they do too, go all the way. If it's the opposite, leave. Like it's very simple stuff right now. Like this is very, very simple. And I think that we have to really look at the simplicity of it. And even with this, because, you know, I'm a truther, right? So I'm going to give you all the truth. Like everybody right now needs to let everybody else's family just understand what this whole passport thing really is. That it's not just so you can get into a concert or on a plane. Because it's just like the shot. Not only is the shot forever, but then this will be implemented forever into our lives. You ever think they're going to get rid of this? When they have full surveillance on you and then the Bluetooth on your phone is connecting and letting you know who you've been around? And one thing, when you sign into a website, right, like, or if you sign into High Vibe, right, there's a login and a password. That's you and your, like, I am understanding your terms of service and I'm going in now and then I'm logging out and then I'm done. Why? This is different. Once you log in, you're logged in forever. There is no, I'm logged out. Have you thought about that yet? Oh, I'm logged out. I'm logged out right now. I'm not on the passport right now. It's not like how I have my normal passport, right? It's like, okay, yeah, like here, you need to see it, customs, all right, okay. And then can I have it back? Thanks, and I'll move on. And that's it. And I can put it in my drawer. No, this passport is constantly going to be looking at, oh, you had done the shot. So you're at a better place in society. Oh, you like saying nice things about Biden. So guess what? You get more opportunities in life and you can keep these accounts open. But if you don't, if you talk about Trump or if you talk about anything else, guess what? You're now, and you don't get it. So you're down here. You're not able to access anything. You're not able to travel. Probably going to get to where they don't give you even your, like what happened to the whole Real ID thing, right? That was the big thing. Real ID to get on a plane. They set it up just to do this. Because even there was delays in that before 2020. And that's what's kind of funny to me is like, that's really what's going on. And people need to like let their families know and people need to really like sit people down who know this stuff. And you need to sit your friends down. You need to sit everybody that you know around. And you can't be afraid to drop the truth on people right now. This is definitely not a time to be afraid to speak your truth with Mars and Gemini. And that you're not crazy to have questions. And you know what? If people think that you're crazy, let them think that you're crazy. This is not a time with Saturn and Jupiter to worry about what other people think. Because anybody who worries about what other people think are going to go nowhere. Saturn will just be like, well, you really care a little bit too much about what other people think. Remember that Aquarian energy is the liberation. Saturn is actually liberating you. Like the integrity is through liberation, liberty. And the pursuit, which Saturn is always a pursuit, a goal of liberty. And Jupiter will pay you for liberty. So you go against yourself when you take away your own rights from yourself, when you consent to giving your life away. And I'm using the shot as the example, and I'm using the passport as an example, is into your own life when you do that to a relationship. I'm consenting to a relationship that I really don't want to be in. I'm giving away my liberty in my life. I'm consenting to the job I don't like. I'm giving away my liberty to my life and my future. I am, you know what? I just need a car, so I'm just going to take this, whatever you got. I used to sell cars. I always felt bad for the people who were just like, and I would actually turn their minds. I'm like, you know what? You don't even want this car, so I don't even want to sell it to you. I feel bad. If I'm going to sell you a car and you really want that and you don't have the money right now, why don't you come back to me in 2 weeks, save your check, and have that extra $200 that you need for the down payment, And you'll be much happier in the long run. You're not going to like it. You don't like the color. Doesn't even fit you. Like, that's what I'm saying, keep it simple. But people can't see right now what's going on all this other fronts on how, oh, that won't happen. A bunch of people were just telling me, oh, this won't happen. Oh, really? Oh, it already happened. Go look on your phones and just go into your search on your, just if you have an iPhone or if you have an Android, go in your search and just type in COVID. What pops up? Exposure notifications. It's in your phone, ready to turn on. When they give you the app for this stuff, it connects your Bluetooth and it connects every other app ever made. Why do you think all the terms of services came out at the end right before Jupiter Saturn met in December with Instagram, with all them? Everybody's wanting this to come out because forever they know exactly everything. Everything, including thank God for Edward Snowden. Is anybody going to give that guy more props for at least giving us the heads up? And Mars is coming towards his sun, which is going to be interesting over the next 3-4 weeks, or 2 to 3 weeks. He's at the end of Gemini, beginning of Cancer. I'm wondering if Brian Williams is going to interview him again about the passport. Or is Brian Williams not interested anymore in privacy of people? He was when he interviewed him in 2019. But about this? Probably not. Somebody's saying that Snowden is cousin with Zuckerberg. Maybe, but he handed us the truth. So, at the end of the day, I don't care who is friends with who. I don't know how, there's plenty of Benedict Arnolds in the world. And there's also plenty of, George Washingtons. It all depends on the person. Like, I could be cousins with somebody that I don't agree with any of their shit at all. Right? Like, I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't done that on my own and actually found the evidence of that. So, this is an important time though, and I wanted to put that out there because I think it's important conversations for people to have. We're all looking at the Bill of Rights in our own life for our own things about what we're going to consent to relationship-wise, where we're going to put our money, where we're going to put our time for our projects, where we're going to do things that make us feel better in our life. And so it's the same notion when it comes to the consent is forever in the sense of with the shot and with the passport. It's forever. It's not. The only thing that would save us from the passport is a solar flare. But I don't know how that'll do with people who have the shot in the arm, because humans have never altered their DNA to change what the DNA should look for and what frequencies change in a cataclysmic electromagnetic event on Earth, while the poles are very weak and the electromagnetic field is very weak. Has anybody thought about that? No? Nobody thought about that one yet?
No one said anything.
No, nobody thought about that one. So, this reminds me of aliens. So, well, we're going to end with this. Dr. Schnabel was not really a doctor. He was a different name, but the Schnabel represents the snout, right? The beak. And with the Black Plague, there was this idea that the smell was what got it. Okay? That the smell of the Black Plague and people dying and stuff was what you got. So that's why they wore all that. And that's why they came in there like that. Same way that the Native Americans, when they got the plague that killed 90% of them from when people came to Jamestown, all that stuff, was because they thought it was the gunpowder but really it was whatever smallpox or chickenpox or stuff, whatever that other people in part of the world brought over, right? Although it's kind of interesting on how we're in a world where we go everywhere now, right? We've been doing that for how many hundreds of years, right? Even the Flying Dutchmen were doing it a long time ago. That it was bound to happen where people were going to intermingle from other parts of the world, you know? But, you know, I don't want to even get into that whole thing because people get triggered, and I'm just trying to look at it as a historical point of view. It was bound to happen where people were going to intermix, right? Especially Age of Aquarius. Everybody talks about Age of Aquarius, and guess what? Like, people are going to, we're intermixing. With especially Jupiter and Saturn and Aquarius, if something happens in Mongolia that's going to be dramatic, it's going to affect the whole globe now. That's the whole part of Aquarian energy, is that it's no longer like it's over there. No. It's all involved. So when somebody tries to tell me, oh, this passport can't happen because it's on my phone and whatever, and they can keep the data secret. Oh no, it's connected to the World Wide Web. It's connected to a backtrack of backends that are networks that are recording metadata that is insanely connected everywhere. So we are all as humans connected everywhere, and now everywhere else is connected. But with that, Dr. Schnabel, the whole idea was that the smell would give it to you. When we found out it was the fleas. And to me, the shot in the arm, or you in your life using this supermarket sweep show, all the energy's fast and you going into things, are you looking down for a second and are you making sure, like, really what's going on? And like, yeah, I want to deal with this long term, and yeah, I'm ready to go with this forever. Of course, there really is no forever in 3D term, but there is a sense in the karma that we are writing, because when all the planets are direct, think of it like us writing a story, and especially in Aries, we're writing the title, we're writing the first sentence to the first paragraph, and that's the opening paragraph. It's a big deal when you do a piece of paper. I have a history professor behind me, so I better know what I'm talking about. But this is an important motion about when you put that ink on paper. It reminds me of, we're doing a lot of my family history just today, and my great aunt had to type on an Underwood typewriter everything, and if you messed up, you had to take out the piece of paper and throw it away and start over that piece of paper, because she had to take all the stuff from the Palmer family book from the 1600s, early 1600s, and transfer those documents via typewriter, and now I'm transferring it all in the digital world. So it's one of those weird things where it wasn't the smell. Even the 1300s and that plague, right? Like, you didn't pray enough. You didn't wear a mask enough. You didn't get the shot in the arm. You didn't get that. That's what's causing it. Nope. Every plague, it's always what they say it is, and it is not. That's some history repeating itself, and that's also astrology repeating itself. Hate to say it, folks. So, everybody tries to come against me too, even if it's in my personal life when I try to talk to them. I'm just using history, and I have to like actually buy. This was like $200. It would have been $400, but thank God it was like big canvas or whatever, had like 50% off. So I got it for $200 instead of $400. I wasn't ready to really pay $400 for Dr. Schnabel. I don't know if I, brought a girl over to my pad and was like, yo, you like Dr. Schnabel? They're gonna be a little creeped out. Maybe I should put it over my bed. They'd be like, you're a freak. I'm like, yeah, I'm not much of a freak. But that's the whole thing, is that, are you paying attention to what's going on? And are you really following your destiny? Especially relationships come up, because on Easter, this moon squares Venus and the sun, and they're very close to each other themselves. And we cannot see Venus right now. Venus is still behind the sun from our point of view. So, we're in a very important motion, And with Mars and Venus sextiling this week, but in the helio, Mars and Venus are squaring. So it's like there's some tension that we have to realize is only going to happen if we're not emotionally really following what's true to us. And I feel that with Venus getting ready to come on top of Eris, but that's actually happening from the sun's point of view, from Helio, which I'm about to show in Deep Astrology right now. If you go to highvibe.tv, right after this, that's what I'm doing, is I'm going to show everybody all this stuff. You know, and also I've been loving Jupiter and Eris that have been coming into sextile. What's very interesting about Eris too is it's coming to 24 degrees, 2400. And Jupiter is going to be doing that too. So we start the week off next week with Jupiter and Eris sextile. And I think that the doorway open really is. And you know, Eris's story is definitely very intense, and it can have some shadow parts to it. And definitely much more of a shadow feminine. But there's a Jupiter aspect to it. Like, you know, to me, the shadow feminine is, you know, there's sometimes in a mother's life where she's got to be ruthless and protect her child or protect her loved ones in a positive way and do the best that she can to survive or to make sure that everybody's safe and secure. And I feel that we need to see more of that from all of us and ourselves, and we have to do that to our own soul. Like, we're not going to just give away our energy of receiving and giving to energy that is not part of our destiny, and then that is not part of God's alignment in our life. I'm not going to go in a relationship with somebody who doesn't have a spiritual core or base, or doesn't believe in God, or doesn't believe in all that. That's just not going to work, and that's my destiny. Especially if I'm going to be the owner of High Vibe. How do you think that's going to work? So they got to be cool with Dr. Schnabel too, you know what I mean? Like, fuck. But that's all ended is the fear that's rolling around is the fear that's trapping people to follow that this works. This didn't work. This didn't work. Okay? This is what you look like. And you notice how he's rounding up the little kids and they're running away? These kids are traumatized for life. They probably had dreams of Dr. Schnabel. Because from what it looks like in history, once Dr. Schnabel came into the town freaked the fuck out. And we're getting ready for, you know, in a couple weeks' time, Sun square Pluto, Venus square Pluto. We've got a lot of energy getting ready to square Pluto. We're getting ready for a lot of Mars, Neptune, weird shit. We're getting this last moment here before weird shit hits. This is the last week before weird shit. And weird shit is already going on. Just hasn't popped itself out fully yet. So everybody, I think, this week needs to realize that this is a blessing. This is the ultimate blessing. And to seize these blessings and to also know your bill of rights of your destiny and go, I'm not giving any of those up for my own things that I know are going to be good for my long term. And I think that people will be good. I mean, you know, with Mercury entering into Aries, it gains a lot of good energy. The only planet that really is going to have trouble on Easter is Venus. And then, of course, the moon will be -5 because it's in detriment. It'll be with Pluto. But Venus will be -10 by position, close to the sun, detriment in Aries. And so don't get lost in, especially you all know me, I've been talking about this travel thing. It's like, oh, I can travel now. Let me just travel a little bit more. Oh, I just have to get a quick shot that's going to last forever. And then does that make sense? Like, I'm just going to get a quick shot that will last forever in my life to do a temporarily fast thing. Really? That's where we're at. How Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn programmed is that from 2020? Of like, let me strip everything away from you, and the second I put out a little Reese's peanut butter cup, you're going to fucking give away your soul and sell it to eat it. And then you know what's the worst in those positions? Is you eat it and you go, it wasn't even that good. Because I gave something up that was forever in me, that was wholesome to me, for something quick, fast, and easy. It's like fast food. This shot's being delivered faster than McDonald's can deliver their hamburgers around the world. Believe it or not, McDonald's has some more integrity. At least it gets out of your system in sometimes, for some people, 6 hours. Depends on how the bathroom smells. You could have McDonald's once and it won't last a lifetime. Maybe the remembrance of it might. But it won't. It will get out of your system. So the things that we take on this week are awesome. Just discerning. And that's what Capricorn's reminding us. And that's also with the moon coming into Aquarius over Saturn and with Jupiter is like, we can make awesome futures as long as we pass this test on Easter. The same test that Jesus had to go through, which was embodying the Holy Spirit. Now, I know that we celebrate the life of Jesus as the Holy Spirit and the death of Jesus in his physical body. And, I think the important thing to note about that whole story is, of course, they kind of have it flipped because Capricorn's really where he dies on the cross. And then he goes through the 3 days because of the December 21st. And that's actually where it is. Like, if you look at the zodiac and you look at space, like you look at it, like that's the cross, the Southern Cross, is where the sun passes on December 21st. And then 3 days build up to December 25th, Christmas. So that's really the Holy Ghost right there. Although it's so weird that we celebrate the Holy Ghost in Easter, when really Easter is the birth of, I would say, that full energy of Christ, not Jesus. Jesus and Christ are separate, yet together. And I think that the idea right now in your life that you have to hold the line and pass the test of the Holy Spirit is intense right now. Like Jesus would not have become Christ in the story if Jesus said, you know what? Everything that I stood up for, everything that I healed everybody for, everything that I stood up for about a singular God that was all loving and all encompassing and compassion and all those things, and just start saying, I don't believe in it anymore. You fucked me over, God, and I think it ended up on a cross. Fuck you. Or took the Roman shot. I don't think he would have been given his Christ-like energy. Or the Christ form would have come into his soul. And so I think that this is important for everybody to realize whatever you take on, you hold the embodiment of the integrity of who you are. And you know what? I've seen it lately where people are letting go of that integrity already. So I can only imagine what this is going to be like this weekend. Right? Because ego comes out really intensely on this. And Capricorn reminds you of keeping your ego in check through responsibilities. And it's responsibilities. You have a responsibility in your life to your predetermined destiny to do the good in life, to reach the goals that the divine wants you to reach. And you are given everything that you need for that. And whatever comes in front of you, that's really the only choice, is that you are predetermined with things that show up and you choose. You're not choosing things that you're going after. You are advancing forward into predetermined energies that are showing up into your life all the time, and including time itself and the illusion of time, whatever you want to get into. But that's what this is about. This is that moment for you in your life to go, this road, as fast as I'm going, you have to think of it like if we were in Star Wars and we were in, if we were going into the speed of light, okay? And you had to turn the ship in the speed of light in the right direction. And hold who you know is true within yourself. And you have to do that. And you don't want to put on a white, stormtrooper outfit now and just be like, yeah, I'm joining the freaking force with everyone here. That's not the real force, right? The real force is not seen. To be a Jedi, you have to hold the integrity of who you are. And if you notice, the Jedi have all these powers, and even the powers of the Sith that go against the Jedi, they're both hidden. They both hide in the background. They don't, really the sheep are the ones in the front, right? And both Aries and Capricorn deal with sheep. A ram could be a sheep, and so can a goat. And so this is the sheep squaring the sheep. I'm about to go into that on Deep Astrology. I love you all very much. I'm sending you my best. Hope you all are doing wonderful out there. I hope you enjoy these beautiful times to make changes in your life. Don't be afraid of the big shadow. Don't be afraid of Dr. Schnabel that's coming through and fearing everybody. Okay? The new CDC director and her again, she went against the protocol of Nancy Pelosi that you're not allowed to say mother, daughter, you're not allowed to use any of these pronouns. And she was like, I'm coming to you as a mother, I'm coming to you as a daughter, and I am terrified, and da 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 da. Right? And people try and call me fear-based. She's Dr. Schnabel. Using Zoom, which is owned by China, by the way. Go look it up. China owns the most Zoom. So, I don't really know what else to say. I feel like I believe so much in the collective right now and those that are awake to know what discerning is and to know where blessings are and to take these blessings because they can feel it too. You intuitively can feel that there's not going to be a lot of options throughout the rest of this year that are already presenting themselves now in the direction that you take things. Think of this as a wave. This is the wave. As a surfer and as a jet ski racer, I actually enjoy the bigger the waves when I race jet skis because I get a better shot and a better picture that I can post to everybody and look like a badass, and it's more fun in the race. But I also like it because a lot of people are afraid of the waves in the race. But you have to also remember as a surfer, you don't want to wait for the next set because then you're just sitting on your board. And right now, the waves are pumping. But don't get too used to it. It's like the stock market. When it's a bull run, it can become a bear market real quick. And if you actually think about, because the Sun and Venus right now are doing some weird shit, and Venus is getting ready for a square to Pluto, and it's going to have some Jupiter there, if anything, when it does come to our financial systems and so forth, we're kind of in this Mars, Neptune square, Venus, Sun, we're in this, we're passing it down the line, everything will be fine. No, things are going to get weird once we come into Taurus, and Venus comes into Taurus with Uranus and squares Saturn and Jupiter with financial aspects. So think of the wave right now in all aspects: love, relationships, your personal life, where you live, all these things all at once. That you have to ride the wave to the best place in your life now because you don't want to sit out there on your board and miss the wave and wait till the end of the year and into the beginning of next year when the next set comes. Because that's how off we are in the timing of using a human calendar and following these holidays that literally pull us from a world when the universe is on. That's why we're so out of alignment. And I know it's easy to just be like, that's not how life works. I can manifest whenever I want, whenever I want. I believe that, but I also believe like that when I'm waiting for a wave, I can manifest a wave to come, and it will come, just not exactly at that moment. That if you really want to know the true power of why astrology has been used forever and is the longest divination tool of all time, is because it is the exact moment in when we know when the waves come, and we know there are no waves, and we know when to do things and we know not to do things. And I'm here to tell you that this is it. This is it. It gets weird next week. There's still a wave though. So I don't want people to think it'll just like go away, but it's like I'm already letting you know that the peak of the wave has shown up and that the wave's now going to start to crest and start to come down. And this is where you can have an awesome ride in your life, and you hold your constitution to yourself, and you hold the constitution, please, of this country. Or, and especially we need a human constitution, which we have human rights laws for this. And thank God, I just saw a live from Crystal Tini that she was just doing about that. I think it's Norway. They're doing a crimes against humanity case finally. But it's like, we need to right now realize like individuals with Saturn in Aquarius that hold their constitution for liberty of being a human and having human rights that are allowed to be free as a human and to do what you want and to not have anything tyrannical against us is a human right that every human being on the planet was given to by God. And if you are going to start to be authoritarian, please unfollow me. Please. Go have fun in the authoritarian world. Because you're not helping the collective at all. And Uranus and Taurus brings out the most authoritarianism ever. It did in the 30s. And I hate to be honest too, but, you know, psychologically speaking, the most scariest thing in psychology is whenever there are events that have like taken place, and this one wasn't even a serious one with the Rona, it creates the individuals of authoritarian that start yelling at people like Dr. Snobble and walking around and telling the kids, run away, the fear. You have to be wearing my crazy, weird fucking suit and mask to even get around anything like this. It's the smell that will get you. Well, that's authoritarian. And when you start telling people, hey, you need to get the shot. You need to do this. I'm letting you all know you'd be dumb not to get the shot or to get it. But I'm not going to force you. And I'm not going to judge you. But I'm gonna use astrology, and I'm also as a soul that knows that God gave the human body and all of us everything we need to get through this motherfucker and not change it. That there are mutation consequences for Saturn square Uranus. And we are humans that we are manifesting the way this earth and the reality looks like. And the mutations we're seeing on the earth and the weird shit on the earth is because humans are mutating themselves without even knowing it. They're going around and putting a sticker up on their fucking car of their Land Rover and being like, oh, I got the shot. As they are just in this moment of hyperspace going, I have all these other things I got to go do. Process that one. Love you all. Dr. Schnabel out.